in what is essentially a win, and we are in situation for the Denver Broncos with a 91% chance of making the playoffs with a victory and a 42% chance of making the playoffs with a loss. The Denver Broncos get some great and some troubling concern news on the injury front. We got to break all that down, just how Sean Payton is preparing to take on this really familiar foe in Gus Bradley and the Colts defense. And we get some good news on Bo Nix, that and so much more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben. Helps me and the YouTube algorithm a lot if you like the Broncos too, if you would like and subscribe. So diving in, I think one of the keys to getting this victory is going to be getting that run game going. We know Sean Payton has talked about it multiple times that we're now over the 30 game in a row mark since we've had a 100-yard rusher, which it feels like there are certain teams in the NFL who have a 100-yard rusher each and every week, and it has been 30-plus games since we have eclipsed that mark, and I think this is the week that happens. I think that's going to be a real focus for Sean Payton. In my crossover episode with Derek from All the Juice, the podcast for the Colts, talked about like just how atrocious this team has been against the run. And so I think it's really lining up well for that. And if you take a look at some of the worst teams in the league against the run, number 2 right there is the Indianapolis Colts. The only team whose worst yards per game is the Carolina Panthers. The somewhat troubling statistic there, though, is like while we really handled the Panthers and it wasn't even a close game, we barely eclipsed the 100-yard rushing mark as a team, and that's with Bo Nix getting some, and that's with spreading it amongst multiple running backs. So I really think if the Broncos are going to have long-term success in the playoffs, they need to have a bell cow back. They need to have that run game. We have the highest paid offensive line in the entire NFL, and I think they are going to be taking this personally that, man, how can we keep Bo Nix clean, but we're not opening lanes for these running backs, and that is going to be a focus, and I think we're going to see some success there moving forward, especially because of Sean Payton's level of preparation for a coach he has gone up against multiple times when they were in division foes, and this just shows the elite level of which Sean Payton prepares for future opponents, and this is why you're thrilled to death to have Sean Payton as our coach.
We've got this year's defense, last year's defense. How much do you want in the cut-ups? You know, we can go back even further. If there's a play we remember running against Seattle when he was there, or Jacksonville, and then offensively.
So this is one of the amazing things about Sean Payton is that he is every bit the offensive genius that a Kyle Shanahan is, or like a Mike McDaniels. But then on the other side, he is the leader that you see with a Harbaugh and a Dan Campbell. And that is just a very rare thing to have that we saw the other day with the San Francisco 49ers, a linebacker just leave the game and quit on the team in the middle of the game because the linebacker wasn't cool with the fact that he wasn't getting first team reps anymore. And I just look at how Sean Payton has handled this. Like, you have somehow given the starting job to Bo Nix, yet Bo Nix's best friends are Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson, and they're doing Christmas parties with their wives. You see Jaleel McLaughlin, Javonte Williams, and Audric Estime all being best friends and throwing stuff on Instagram of them hanging together when you're taking carries away from Javonte and giving them to Audric. And so that is where you are just so lucky to have Sean Payton be the authoritarian leader of this team and have everybody bought into the vision, but then also like that level of analytics to be like, yeah, we broke down everything from when he was a defensive coordinator and I played him all the time in Tampa to what he did when he was with Seattle to what he did when he was with Jacksonville. And I just think this team off of a bye has a way bigger advantage than Shane Steichen has off of a bye. And these Broncos know what's in front of them, and it's going to be scary moving forward. And it's Let's dive over to the injury front, because here's another fantastic piece of news is just taking a look at how banged up this Colts team is coming into this game. It is essentially a must-win game. They would then, if they lose this game, they need Houston to lose out, which is very unlikely because Houston has the Titans at the end of the year. That's almost a guaranteed win. But taking a look at all of the questionable dudes on here is awesome. And also looking at their right tackle is out without a doubt. He's definitely out. They're down another wide receiver. And this is something here that I think this could change it from being like a close game, having Josh Downs out, to being a Broncos blowout. Josh Downs, terrifying receiver, especially with the fact that we have Riley Moss definitively out for this game. But man, if you take a look at Josh Downs and just unreal catcher of the ball. And I think there have been interviews with Anthony Richardson, where he said, like, yeah, this is my favorite target. He makes those insane catches that, like, you have no business catching. He kills zone defenses, and I think that's what we're going to see a ton of in this game is a lot of zone defense. And actually, in a zone defense, if that is indeed what we end up doing, I could see a world where Levi Wallace does get the start or gets tons of snaps in zone because he has been a decent zone defender. It's when he's in man that he gets cooked like he was with Jerry Jeudy. So that's going to be interesting to see. That would be fantastic for the Broncos if they are without Downs. And then the other big thing is their starting center is also questionable. So then you're talking, man, it's going to be a day for Zach Allen. They're going to have a hard time getting the run game going if they're without their right tackle and without their center. And if they cannot get the run game going with Jonathan Taylor, this is a Broncos blowout. And we're talking about the Broncos eliminating a playoff team, essentially. Like, they're viewing this as a playoff game. We could have a blowout win that is this playoff game, and that is why in the Washington Post, an incredible article here by Jason Lockenfora, who's a national name, who doubted the Broncos going into the season, and he interviewed a bunch of anonymous GMs, and those are always my favorite ones to read because they'll say what they're actually thinking. And it is incredible to see what they are thinking is what all of us homers have been saying for months. Like, since we got Bo Nix, since we saw this culture changing last season, they're finally starting to catch on to it. And when I say, like, hey, the Broncos are going to be a tough out in the playoffs, everyone's like, oh, you're just wearing that orange and blue Bo Lever, you dummy. Well, an anonymous coach whose team is going to the playoffs literally said that Denver is a team that no one wants to see in the playoffs. Like, said those exact words, which is what I've been saying, and people say I'm crazy. Sean Payton will outcoach you in the playoffs. We know that. What he's doing with the quarterback, it's special. The kid ended up in the best place possible. They're going to be scared to play anybody with that coach. So Sean Payton is a top 5 coach in the NFL right now. And you're telling me, like, this game with the Colts, like, Vegas has it as like a 4-point Broncos victory, but you're telling me Sean Payton or Shane Steichen, who's the better coach? Not even a question. It's Sean Payton. Who has the better defense? Not even a question. Who has a better offensive line? Not even a question. Who has a better quarterback? Not even a question. The Broncos are rested. They're getting healthy, and it's going to be a phenomenal, phenomenal day as the Denver Broncos beat the Colts, and I'm very, very pumped about that. A couple other big pieces of news around the league is as we are scoreboard watching and watching the Chiefs, they're playing at the Browns on Sunday. Everyone is saying that they want the Chiefs to secure that 1 seed so that they rest their players the last week of football. I am not sure that the Chiefs would rest players if they have the 1 seed locked down. Like, I remember all those years when Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning would rest the bye week and then play week 1 of the playoffs and be so rusty and so cold and end up dropping games. So now the NFL has changed over these past 2 years, and now the first round team in the playoffs, or the first ranked team, gets an actual bye week. So if the Chiefs do rest starters, you're talking 2 full weeks without playing. So if Dungy's teams were cold and lost chemistry over 1 week of rest, what are the Chiefs going to look like after 2? So I'm not sure that we want the Chiefs to lose. I think I would love to see that, the Chiefs and the Bills fight it out. I don't know if it is in the Broncos' best interest for the Chiefs to gain that 1 seed, but that all remains to be seen. But the Chiefs have had a hard time. Mahomes has been hit unlike any other time in his career, and he's just constantly dudes in the backfield. And that's what happens when all of your money is going to a couple players like Chris Jones, like Travis Kelce, and like Patrick Mahomes. You don't have money to build around them, and that's why they don't have depth at wide receiver, and that's why their offensive line isn't that great on the tackles, and now they are losing another tackle. So they had tackle issues, and now the other one is hurt, and so I could see a world where the Chiefs lose to the Browns, and then they are playing 3 games in 11 days because they have a Saturday game and a Christmas Day game against the Steelers. So this is going to be a lot of fun to keep our eyes on as we are watching. And then the last thing is that Bo Nix, if he has 250 passing yards on Sunday, he will join Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud as the first rookie to do this. So that would be, that was from a while ago. Well, very, very cool. Definitely keep our eyes on it. Let me know your score prediction. I got Denver Broncos 31, Indianapolis Colts 17. When I make this last shot, the Broncos are undefeated. So let's keep Bo leaving. Nothing to chance. Made it. Let's go.